أعزائنا الحضور، يرجى الجلوس في أماكنكم لاستكمال جلساتنا النقاشية.
Take your seats.
سيداتي آنساتي سادتي، حضورنا الكرام، مع حفظ
Regarding the climate change and tackling the challenges in awareness policy by climate change, about the awareness about the climate change.
Excuse me, can I get a badge for the translation? I'm from GIZ.
السلام عليكم ومرحبا مرة ثانية.
Come again. Current pollutions, one of which is the local pollution. My first speech have polluted your hearing, so please, I will pollute your second, but I hope to be funny with you. Thank you. In this session, second panel is to discuss the awareness. Climate in itself, it is an issue that many of us do not consider an issue itself. Cities still lacks that regard climate change, about climate change, institutions have recently identified this. Until now, we didn't know a clear vision how to deal with this subject to resolve the issue. We see that it was regarding the climate change. The responsible doesn't fall on the certain party, field, section. It is a problem we share all. Any institution has the responsibility according to its specialty, but the main responsibility being on the community. The fact is present on all institutions. You can observe the report that have been shared with you previously to see what the specialists see in this field on the whole of the local Arab governmental institutions on tackling the climate change in this region. Our panel is responsible for the awareness. We see that the local authorities on its different departments bears the responsibility for the first confrontation institutions and the policies. Any drugs have not been implemented on policies to separate enough awareness. So in our session today we will discuss Since will present various different entities to see how to deal with the challenge of the climate change in regards to the awareness. Yes, welcome, Mr. Abdul Saleh, representative or a member of the communication minister, communications. Second, representative of the UNDP. Mr. Zubair takes the shortcut, I see. Thirdly, Mr. Haidar Khanchi, founder of Sid Foundation. The CEO, Mr. Amir Talib Shani. Thanks the participants. We shall start with Mr. Abdul telecommunication telecommunication committee is responsible for the climate change and recently have worked on this one. So see the importance that we understand what are the efforts and the methods adopted by the communications community on the climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. What the media communication committee efforts on this subject support the climate change effects and what have the committee done in the previous period, which is supporting the climate change initiative. There is a participation of the committee and of the energy support team to mitigate the emissions. Subcommittees, the media commission that supports this action. In previous period, we have called to talk about certain actions about directing the telecommunications firms via text messages that educate the society. We have an awareness plan to separate awareness in the community regarding the dangers of the ecology and what the country suffers because of the climate change. So we use media platforms, channels, vocal, visual, and make short movies. In the next period, that will be spread on via media, visual media channels. I think this will help in spreading awareness on society and the better use of energy and mitigate the overflow of waters, as well spreading of the green areas, all of which helps in the support of the transition, the climate change transition. Thank you very much. One of the main sites that work on climate change is tackling the challenge general. As we have seen, direct vision. There is an effort that has been already done. But let's take one step back. As for Murshid, the representative of Mr. Balali, has any challenges have been identified that faces regarding the climate change or the natural resources? What are these challenges? نعم.
Let me start by saying that, generally climate change has three broad consequences, which is the increase in temperature, change in weather patterns, and sea level rise. And as a result of these three consequences, the impact on Iraq's natural resources. In natural resources, we include land, water, air, and biodiversity. And in biodiversity, we include, plant species, green belts, forests, as well as birds and animal species also. So if we look at the Iraq situation within the climate change context, first, if we look at the water issue, Iraq already is is a high water stress country. The global water per capita water threshold per capita per year water threshold is 1,700 cubic meters, and Iraq is somewhere 800 cubic meters per capita at the moment. And under the climate change scenarios, it is expected that by 2030, Iraq's per capita water levels will be declining to 480 cubic meters per capita. And by 2080, it will further decline to about 370 cubic meters per capita. So if you have, against a standard of 1,700 cubic meters, you have only 480 cubic meters. So we can imagine what will be the impact of that shortage on the life. If we look at the land, land already, Iraq is about 40% of Iraq is already considered as affected by desertification, which is a desert area. And under the impact of climate change, Iraq is losing about 100 square kilometers of arable land, which means agricultural land, 100 square kilometers of agricultural land every year to desertification. And the studies show that in 1970, Iraq's area under cultivation was about 12% of the total Iraq's territory was under cultivation, agricultural land, which has reduced by 2010 to about 8%. So this is a massive loss of agricultural land and productivity for Iraq. The third aspect of the natural resources is air. And the air, I believe we understand the air is one of the most important natural resource for us as human beings, because what we breathe is air. And as we know, of course, the globally air quality is being changed. The composition of atmosphere includes 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% is other gases like carbon and other gases. But as a result of high carbon emissions and methane emissions and other emissions, this composition of the atmosphere is changing fast everywhere. And as a result of that, we can see the rise in various respiratory diseases, for example. But if we come to Iraq, of course, the global air quality is impacting the whole world due to the climate change. But within Iraq, if you look, there are also small hotspots, you can say, where the air quality is getting worse, partly because of climate change, partly because of other socio-economic factors. For example, Basra, you have, because of the gas flare, the quality of air in Basra is extremely bad. And as a result of that, the people in Basra are suffering highest incidence of cancer, for example. Similarly, in cities, bigger cities like Baghdad and Erbil and other places, the air quality is getting bad because of the various socio-economic factors in addition to the climate change. If we come to the biodiversity, loss of biodiversity, Iraq is already, under in the countries which have very low biodiversity resources. So for example, the forest cover in Iraq is about 1.9% of the total territory of Iraq, which is extremely low. The minimum required or recommended green cover in any country is about 5%, and Iraq is even less than half of that. Similarly, in Iraq, the biodiversity, animals and bird species, especially in the south, which is considered a climate hotspot, the marshlands and the Basra Governorate, Misan Governorate, Muthanna Governorate, in those areas, there are numerous animal and bird species which have been identified as endangered species globally, and they are going to get extinct. So these are, various impacts of the climate change on natural resources in Iraq. But I want to add also that, we have a tunnel vision sometimes, that we look at only one aspect of life while ignoring the others. So for example, in terms now, climate change also, we have a tendency to put everything on climate change. But I think we also need to look at it from a different perspective also. For example, there are also socio-economic factors which are contributing to the destruction and damage of natural resources and are going to make life difficult for everybody. So for example, if I tell you the global figures and then I come to Iraq, the population of world was 5 billion in year 1990, about let's say 30 years before. And by 2000, it became 6 billion. And by 2023, it became 8 billion. And so you imagine, and by 2050, it will become 10 billion. Okay. So in 60 years period, the population will go from 5 billion to 10 billion. So imagine if there are 5 billion people on this planet and the amount of water available and the land, agricultural land available and the forest cover available and the animals to kill available are the same. But if the same population has gone up by, we can see from 5 billion to 8 billion already. So you can imagine how much more water is needed, how much more land is needed, how much more green cover is needed. So that's a socio-economic factor which we tend to ignore while putting all the blame on climate change. And this also, the growth in population is a biggest factor responsible for climate change, for example. So similarly, there are other socio-economic factors we should not ignore. For example, if you look at the percentage of population in Iraq, let me first just, Iraq's population in 1980 was 13 million in 1980, and now it is 40 million. So it is 300% increase. So, but the number of rivers and the water is same in Iraq, right? Similarly, the other factors, urbanization. With urbanization, the consumption patterns change, and industrialization, consumption patterns change. So all of these factors are contributing to the loss of natural resources in Iraq, basically. Thank you.
عرض عميق وواضح
Can I
لمشاكل
take
كثيرة.
1 more minute, or it's okay?
That was a great walkthrough through the problems. And I think that covers most of the socio-economic and a lot of other aspects of the problem. شكرا للأستاذ زبير على التغطية الكبيرة للمشاكل التي تتعلق بالتغير المناخي. سمعنا رأي
We have heard the opinion of the component parties on the media of the government regarding the spreading awareness. It requires what we call working from the inside. In English, it's called localization, to be precise. When we come to awareness, it comes from the inside, from the local people, which is the humanitarian organizations. We came to the question of Mr. Haidar Al-Kufaishi, which is the founder. It covers this subject. What are the requirements, to be precise, as is our Baghdadi environment covers or can adapt to the harsh conditions of the climate change?
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you for this hospitality. It is a very important question. We came to see the 17 goals map. We see that the city is the core, and the economic activity of the city is the core of everything for the city. As to be brief, urban cities populated by people where industrial, commercial, economic activities happens, because it is considered the main city, and there is the sub districts. When we come to Baghdad, after that we will generalize. We see that the ancient planning of Baghdad is a sustainable cities that have been established on the river banks of Dijla, of the Tigris River. Of course, the open areas within the cities, there is available open areas that helps in contributing to a clean environment. The main point of, we call it master planning of the cities, is to give attention to the environment, the healthy environment, to the citizens and the inhabitants that use the city. A network of rivers that covers all the areas of Baghdad, suburban areas around Baghdad, which is agricultural lands that provides a huge amount of oxygen. And if we measure it to the standards that reduce emissions and carbon, it is perfect. Now we see that it is a violation of this habitants areas, as the old Iraqi house is a sustainable house. We can see it from the cultivation that comes from the inside in regards to the courtyards, where 24, 50, 65 years, the sun covers all the spaces in the house. Outside the house, we came to the alleys, it is the same. In the winter, in the summer, it is the same. The orientation of the sun and the sun prohibits the entrance of the sun emission. So it is a perfect environment, especially after 2003, where many neighborhoods have been changed, and the drought of the agricultural land and the values of land use. The master plan of every city defines the use of lands and activities in every lot. All of this affects negatively on how flexibility of the city and how can it is challenge the climate change. We have come to see it right now. The rise in temperature in the city by 1 to 2 Celsius. And within the Iraqi cities, the temperature have surpassed this number, where we spoil soil, fossil fuels, and we use energy that is not clean or renewable. Since 2018, Baghdad is a sustainable city initiative where we push for the use of renewable energy. The role of the society is out of the essence. We work on a prototype right now, which is environment friendly since 4 years. This is a mission. If we succeed in, we will change the community culture. We can see there is responses from sectors of the society like universities that have been as models of this new model of renewable energy, especially getting away from fossil fuels. The climate change aspect is an important topic. Its impact is not very clear right now, but with the time it will become very serious. We have made the planning for Baghdad by 2030 that we will deal with this climate change impact and the sustainable urban areas and the urban planning of the cities. We hope that some areas within the city become open areas and environment friendly. That's because of the density of the population. Basra is important because of the pollutions. So the awareness is on two sides, on the audience side and the government side. During the Al Basra convention, we have met many representatives of the government and there was a positive reaction toward the transition to these methods, to not to deteriorate the main planning of Baghdad city. Thank you very much. Awareness, as we have clarified, is a general topic. The responsible bears on everybody. It is not only from the government or international organizations and nor the humanitarian missions. We have to increase the awareness of the community as individual or institutions. As Mr. Ahmed Shoukat as an international organization, we have many initiatives, environmental initiatives. So what is the relationship between your work and the environment? Uh, please pass him the mic. رجاء أعطيه المايك. May peace be upon you. سوف أطلب من المنظمين لهذا الحدث لأنه أمر مهم. أستخدم هذه الكلمة بحذر.
So let me introduce myself and my company first, since I am the single one who is, participating from the private sector. My name is Emir Tarık Çolak. I am the supply chain director of Coca-Cola Iraq, CCI Iraq. Who is CCI Iraq? Actually, we are the butler of Coca-Cola company, and we are operating in 11 countries for manufacturing, delivering, and selling the goods, as you already know the brands. We have 3 plants in Iraq. One of them is in Erbil, one of them is Hille, and the third one is in Kerbela. So we are serving more than 30 million consumers every day. And actually, our strategy is creating value where we are operating in. So I'm beginning to answer. Sorry for this introduction. So the environment. We were talking about the environment impact and strategy. Actually, I have heard lots of things from UNDP side as well. So we committed to UNDP side with that 17 highlights. Almost 6 of them are being covered in our pledge. We committed to follow climate change, water stewardship, packaging, human rights, and diversity and inclusion, and community. So once we are talking about the environment, I have to mention about packaging. We have to think packaging like a circle. So for having a strategy for packaging, first of all, we have to reduce the materials that we're using. So the Coca-Cola company has got a program which says a world without waste. So wherever there is a project in terms of decreasing the packaging materials, we are applying in Iraq also. So this is a standard approach. The other one is without waste plants. So what does it mean? We are sorting all kind of materials in our plants. We are sending them with the permitted constructors, and recycle issue is starting then. So after reducing, I think we have to consider about reuse. So how we are reusing our bottles, especially glass bottles. We have to consider about this issue. The last one is recycling. Actually, we are committing to produce 100% recyclable materials. So we are producing our goods with 100% recyclable features. We are committing it, and we are doing it. The second commitment for recycling, we are saying that half of our bottle must be consisting of recycled material. So we have to consider about this issue as well. How we are ready for recycled materials in Iraq. On the other hand, last sentence for this question actually, we are serving our goods in the market. So we are committing to collect each and every packaging material that we are putting in the market. We are committing it in Turkey, in Pakistan, and in Kazakhstan. So for Iraq, we are ready to initiate a cleanup activity with participants of a wider range of the partnership in coming soon. So we will initiate this cleanup activity in order to increase the awareness.
شكرا جزيلا للأستاذ أمير، وسعيدون جدا أن مؤسسات
I'm very happy that the private sector helps the responsibility and takes upon itself the commitments of the climate change. Now I return to Abdul Azim. Mr. Abdul Azim, we know that many of the information regards the climate change have started to spread, but the main question is how can we guarantee that this data and information is available and understandable and accurate from the diverse communities, and how it affects the culture and social affairs of the community regarding the climate change. Please hand him the mic. We were at the previous period
إيصال
to
المعلومات للمواطن، وكذلك نعمل على استلام الشكاوى والمعلومات
towards the centers from the citizens themselves. There is centers. بس قول لي صعد المايك. Please raise the mic to your mouth. I can't hear you well. We have the number. We are working on founding a website that will support national initiatives for energy and mitigate emissions. That's one hand. On the other hand, we work with the media platform on mitigating the emissions. There is 150 towers that use clean energy. We had initiatives and the Al Arba'in pilgrimage, which is a million range, as well as the 25 Arab Gulf Cup, where many technologies of like telecommunications techs that uses renewable energy and clean energy. This is by itself supports the initiative, the national initiative to support the energy and mitigate the emissions. That's from the technological side. The telecommunications committee taken upon itself to spread and promote the culture of how to use technology to reduce the climate change impacts. We have tools to standardize the emissions emitted by the telecommunications firms. This is by itself contribute to support of mitigating the emissions. That's another activities that have been done by the community that bears in the interest of supporting the environment for a clean environment and reducing the impacts on all fields, at least on the best use of telecommunications firms for mobile phones and internet, in addition to directing the media institutions and emphasize the contents that targets the best use of climate change impacts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sir, please what are the international sections and what are the targets? شكرا جزيلا.
On human beings, because everybody's action is contributing to climate change. But then human beings have created society, and that's a problem. And then we have created a state, and that's even a bigger problem. So, so where to focus of awareness on climate change. So as United Nations, we have climate change is one of the 5 priority areas for us. And we have a working group comprising upon about 10 United Nations agencies. And our work has focused more at the higher level with the policymakers, with the ministerial level, with the parliamentarians, with the senior government officials, to educate them, to lobby with them, to raise their awareness about the risks which Iraq face from climate change and the actions which Iraq need to take. So we have helped Iraq to formulate various policies and strategies, including the NDC and the related instruments. For example, the NAMA and the NAP work is going on, and the environment strategy and other biodiversity strategy and the pollution control strategy, for example. And there is work ongoing on a number of other areas. Also, we have focused on technical capacity development of the national decision makers and officials for their participation in various COPs, so that Iraq can negotiate about its interests in the global COPs, for example. Thematically, our focus also has been on promoting renewable energy through our awareness and lobbying and education initiatives with the policymakers, promoting renewable energy, focusing on integrated water resources management, and climate finance, because climate finance is very important, because as you may have heard my friend Dr. Nazir mentioning that in the NDC, Iraq has established targets that it will meet about 1 to 2% of emission reductions with its own resources, and it expects to receive about $100 billion from international community to meet the emissions reduction up to 15%. But we are also, as international organization, aware that Iraq should not, Iraq is a country which has a high national income, revenues from its oil exports and gas and other resources, primarily oil. And so there is very little appetite among the international community to provide funds to Iraq. So Iraq should consider financing its climate action from its own resources. So we are engaged in this awareness raising and education also for the national decision makers. Now coming to the other elements of society, for example, we have so far not focused much on the civil society awareness raising, on the youth awareness raising, on women's awareness raising, on farmers awareness raising, so on private sector, for example. And these are very important, segments of society, because as I said before, if climate action has to succeed and if we have to achieve results, then everybody needs to take action. For example, the farmers need to plant crops which are emitting less, dangerous gases. For example, they need to shift their cropping patterns. As individuals, we need to reduce our consumption in generally. So this awareness needs to go to all segments of society. But as United Nations, so far these segments have not been our focus. I think I should say that we need to focus more on these segments going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, great initiatives, and I think we all hope that these initiatives towards awareness can be successful. فشكرا للأستاذ زبير ونتمنى
يجب أن
هذه
يكون هناك وعي. Thank you very much for Mr. Zubair. Yes, we need to raise awareness, and we hope that all the sectors and institutions come to the best level of awareness in this respect. Mr. Haidar, you have touched upon the change in the some areas, social or community awareness. What are the best ways to go back to the sustainable LA, sustainable neighborhood, sustainable house? What can we do, Mr. Haidar? Thank you very much. The issue is very complicated, and the changes on the ground are very complicated, but it's very important to reconsider the rules and laws of building. Transformation for green building codes is very important. Many countries have transformed to this modes of building, but unfortunately, Iraq is still following the old ways of building. Which are not friendly, environmental friendly. Then we try to work on part of the city, section of the city, and we apply the criteria of green building. We now some countries use concrete cement, green cement, green concrete, green or building materials. Which are local, friendly, environmental friendly buildings, materials. We talk building efficiency. Unfortunately, we use materials which reflect heat, do not absorb heat. In fact, it is very important to reconsider and to put a plan concerning the buildings, the quantities of water per capita per each individual, and we have to depend also on natural light, and we should know how much light, natural light, is needed for this space and for that chambers, etc. Uh, and the more we use, the more we use natural resources, the more we decrease our use of fossil fuels, of gases or other or electricity. We are going to mitigate the burden or the pressure on electricity. We want buildings which do not impact environment or damage environment. And this conference, we talk about sustainable urban planning, which is very important as a basic ground to start new cities, which are under designing. These are very friendly for the environment, distribution spaces, etc. All these things are very important. With the increase and enhancement of awareness of working staff and other involved individuals or persons or cadres in other countries, when you want to build, you have to use digital documents, which may come to 200 pages, so that you can obtain building license. We have tackled this in Basra. You cannot, for example, uproot a tree if unless you obtain a license. These are very important things. We are talking about the carbon market and carbon emissions. These are parts of the carbon banks. It is a source of a good economy. If we are succeed in these steps, then we can go towards a green economy. Building industry forms more than 35% of economic activities in Iraq. If we can transform these or this industry into a green economy, and we go to recycling materials with 10, 20, or 30%, then in fact I think we have made a leap, a jump in increasing the city efficiency and the transformation towards the green economy and the sustainable economy. Thank you very much. We hope to see Iraqi buildings. Unfortunately, now we see a lot of buildings which are built without a license. Then they see that some organizations which try to build or follow good ways in building in environmentally context.
Thank you very much for the second question. I would like to mention about this greenhouse gas site for this question, actually. Since we are talking about the climate change, it is affecting the water, first of all, as you already know, and there are some floods, droughts, or scarcity issues. So for the business side of the perspective, unfortunately, we are facing some scarcities in the raw material side, and the area which we are operating in, the people are being affected as well. So in order to secure the supply chain side, we are putting this highly important point to our mitigation plans and business plans. And we are again committing 2 points here for greenhouse gas issue, CO2 emissions. The first one is actually we are transforming our production plants into carbon neutral. There is a massive plan for executing it. The second one is even covering the first one and enlarging it to reduce our CO2 emissions by 13%, regardless of the volume. I mean, absolutely 13% from 2015 to 2030. We have to decrease our CO2 emissions, and you can consider our business are growing. So if you think that per liter, it is half. I mean, we have to decrease our CO2 emission half. So these are our commitments until 2030. The most important thing is how. I mean, we are committing, but how? So I can segregate the how part in 2 dimensions. The first one is the utilizing what we have. We have the plants, we have the organizations, and I'm lucky that I know everything because the supply chain is causing most of these CO2 emissions. So that's why I'm pretty sure what I'm gonna do. So we have the lines, we have the plants, so we have to follow some specific tools in order to reduce our energy consumptions. Those are operational excellence projects, those are Six Sigma projects, and of course, those are the innovations like digital twin. So we are taking care of the data. We are following each and every KPIs per liter. So we have the set goals and we know how to do. So the second one is investing because we are keeping growing. So for investing side, it was so encouraging thing to hear from the Kurdistan side, for example. They were talking about solar powers. So we are at that point at the moment for Erbil plant. For 2 megawatt solar project is being studied at the moment. And I mean, we are so close to finalize the tenders and so on. And on the other hand, we are switching all our forklifts to electrical types. Even we are using some transportation platforms to utilize the trucks more efficiently in order to reduce their consumptions. And we are making lots of projects with our operators level as well. There are innovation projects. So at the end, it is a chain until consumer side coolers. We are using eco-friendly user coolers. And I don't want to mention about so much numbers, but I can say that by this project in 1 year, last year, we avoid more than 600,000 tons of CO2. And in last 10 years, for only coolers, with HFC free coolers, eco-friendly driven coolers, 2.5 million tons of CO2 we avoided. So we have a chance to use this knowledge pool from CCI, the other countries, and Coca-Cola, more than 200 countries that they're operating. So we have a knowledge, deep pool, and we are implementing what is the best in Iran as well.
Thank you so much. And it's great to hear from the people of the supply who are in deep contact and with the all the emissions that's happening. And great to hear the number of reduction that you have successfully done. That's great work. فشكرا جزيلا للأستاذ
you very
على
much
العمل الرائع
for your wonderful work. It's very good to hear these things and instead of direct encounter with the supplies, then it is good to hear this information. Mr. Zubair, can you give me with one recommendation within less than a minute? What can we do in this respect? How can we support awareness, spreading information to adapt to climate?
I mean, awareness is a long-term process, and it's not like a project kind of a approach that you start today awareness and in 2 years or 6 months you will reach the level and you will increase the awareness. That's number one. Number two, in society we have different segments we need to understand. So awareness is first of all for whom, right? And there are different groups in society. There are students, there are farmers, there are women, there are youth, there are families, there are truck owners, car owners. So in awareness, that's very important to understand awareness for whom. Number three, what is very important to understand is what is the message we have. So you cannot give the same message to the farmer which you are going to give to the youth. You cannot give the same message to the truck driver which you are going to give to the car driver, for example. So the message is very important. And then number four, which is concluding, is the medium of communication. Which medium is suitable to communicate with which target audience? So for example, if we want to communicate with the youth in Iraq, what medium do you think would be the most relevant or important? I would think that given the education levels and the technology availability, social media is probably the most relevant channel to reach out to the youth, for example, or educated people, right? But if you want to reach to, let's say, rural people and farmers, how would you reach them? So probably you need to reach out to the mosques or to the farmer associations or to the TV channel. If you want to reach out to the families, you will reach out through the TV channel, for example. So the medium also is very important that you adopt. If you want to reach out to the students, for example, which is a big percentage of the population in Iraq, so then you have to reach out through the universities and colleges and integrate it into the education system. Okay?
Thank you so much, and I think that's great. See, we don't need to see the problem in a programmatic way. لا يجب أن نراها بطريقة برامجية لأن الهدف بعيد، ويجب أن نتجه إلى كل شريحة بالطريقة المناسبة لها.
To address each segment in the proper way. Mr. Dear Fred, how can we support governmental media entities? What is our responsibilities here? And how can we support governmental parties in this respect?
عددنا
We have prepared a plan to train the workers and employees and the media sector related to awareness of climate change impacts, which will in fact spread the community awareness concerning encountering future impacts, desertification, scarcity of water, and clean energy. These steps can be, in fact, a basic initiative to support this orientation. And we have many medias and means through media channels, through social channels, etc. As my friends said, we have to support all the in all efforts and all initiatives which address community and society. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdel Azim. Thank you very much for all those who participated in this panel. I think awareness is very important, and these beautiful and good ideas help us to see clearly the horizons of the problem and the different responsibilities and the different methods which we have all to follow to increase and enhance awareness. Thank you very much. And now I will leave you to the third section. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the speakers now. Mr. Invited to decide the third session and the third or technological transformation towards climate change mitigation and adaptation. Ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you. I welcome you again in this third technological transformation towards climate change mitigation and adaptation. It's my honor to be moderator of this session. I am not specialized in this field, but I am one of the writers who participated in writing the report. Firstly, speaking these changes, in fact, it's a challenge which is encountered by all in general and Iraq in particular. However, it requires many efforts and resources. The good news is the technological development, in fact, may offer new solutions to mitigate these climate changes. Now, we witness a qualitative leap, which we call a transformation in using or employing good initiatives, technological initiatives to support and protect the environment. The green protection, in fact, was a real protection of and support for our government. The private sector has a very important role in this respect. Some private companies participate in developing some technical mechanisms and tools which give very good tools, very good results and fruits. Governmental entities has its important role to play. According to the survey implemented by Capita, in fact, the efforts, governmental efforts, was recognized, and there are new alternatives should be adopted instead of the old alternatives. Hence, I welcome you in this panel. At this panel, we are going to listen to experts and the specialists. I will start with inviting Dr. Ahmed Shahid Ali, Director of Department of Empowering Women, uh, Women Empowerment, and I will invite Dr. Haider and she from the University of Baghdad, Department of Water Engineering. I invite Mr. Mu'nis Naama, the director of Siwa's company. And Mr. Leif Suhair, the directing manager of the company, to assist etc. I think Mr. Zuhair left the conference for an emergency. We start Dr. Nahla. She is the representative of the Ministry of Higher Education. There are steps taken, in fact, and efforts made in different areas. But let us focus on the efforts made by the Minister of Higher Education, the dossier of the technological developments, and how does the ministry participate in this technological support. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon. I'm going to talk about this issue as a representative of the Ministry of Higher Education and as a representative of women in the Ministry of Higher Education. The Ministry of Higher Education, as you know, is an academic institution, and usually in the education, we have two targets. The first one is education, learning and teaching, and research. And we have the second goal, which is the applicable as far as the higher education is concerned. It is the institution which is concerned with all the modern and new things, especially the climate changes. And in our ministry, we have universities, we have colleges and departments which are concerned with the climate, the issue of climate change and its impacts. But we have recently departments, an increase in the departments and the new departments which are concerned with the climate change impacts, smart cities, renewable energies, urban planning, in addition to all the departments. Now, these, in fact, departments were enlarged. We have now nutrition technology and studies. We have environmental environment departments, and we have specialized universities like the Qasim Green University. We have the College of Environmental Technology, and we have opened new research centers. We have some centers which were established in the past and are concerned with the environment, like the environment center in the technology University of Technology. We have also a center in Al Anbar Governorate. These are some examples, but as you know, Iraq, in fact, witnesses an increase in the number of universities governmental and private. The ministry also is focusing, in fact, on the diversification of curricula, especially the curricula which are concerned with the climate changes, emissions, renewable energies, etc. Also, the ministry focuses on the pioneering projects, enterprises supporting the scientific and academic researchers concerning the applications, and I invite here the private institutions, especially the civil society institutions and organizations, to support the researchers and research and papers, because in fact we have a lot of papers and research which support the environment and the climate changes. What the researchers lack is support. Thank you very much. Dr. I now move to Dr. Haidar. Of
A question arises itself is what are the capabilities research, Iraqi research center supported by the Iraqi providing solutions based on research for the climate change crisis, current climate change crisis. Thank you very much. Thank you. May peace be upon you. Before I start to comment on this statement, I want to clarify one thing. The only investment which is sustainable is investing in the environment, which equals an investment in your health, society, and our families. Before answering this question, I want to deliver this message. Invest in ecology and environment. It's investment in the next generations. That's for your question. All research centers, or at least the Department of Research of Baghdad University, is competent in this field that we try to transform into reality. Thanks to God, with the 35 years experience, we have made pioneer ecological projects in reality. In the previous session, as professors have quoted and shed the light on the research, I have been able to create bioasphalt that can be used through fossil fuel. It has been marketed to the construction ministry. I'm working on this side as well as on our students' side, and some presently we have an entrepreneur project in this aspect. We are trying to make to pioneer entrepreneuring project that will reduce the carbon in Iraq, that will reduce the energy waste. As you know, it is an important topic, the usage of energy. All these topics are adopted, but this conference, let's start with an open heart, and I hope my speech shall not be intended to a certain entity or problem in Iraq. Frankly, I give lectures at Hiroshima University in Japan. For researchers problem, it's still in the office, buried amongst other researchers, don't see the light of day. I understand that all my researches are implemented from my own pocket, funded by my own pocket. That is not how other countries work. When you go to projects that is sustainable and developmental, in the end, it's benefits the citizen health. Days ago, we were honored to see His Excellency, the Minister of the college for 6 years straight. I have 4 projects in environmental work that wins awards and adopted by the minister in transforming all materials, recyclable materials can be used as recycled materials. That is our problem in Iraq. The decision makers bear the most responsibility in Iraq. As Dr. Zubair said, that all the society must be stated in a special way. But I agree with that. But our problem is with decision makers. If he gives the mechanism to how to implement these projects, or how to convince him, as he is the head of the building, and how that the farmer and the first grade student shall understand the decision maker still in a valley that is away from the community, that he don't know how to communicate with them to reach their hands. That's this subject. Other projects we have in our field, they implemented the executives one. We need these projects to be needs large skills and to be implemented other than only theories. Thank you, Mr. Haider, for these outcomes. Your speech, as Mr. Moss said, and one of the points clarified by Mr. Haider, that the results, saying the research results, are not taken seriously. Sometimes and sometimes. So, I have a question about the green curriculum adopted by the entrepreneurship in the region. Are there any projects, new projects by new firms that adopts such ideas? Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Initially, I would like to thank the represents the guests from this lovely conference. I would like to give a brief idea about our organization and what we do. CWAS is a non-profit organization that works in almost in all parts of the world. Our headquarters in Jordan. We have done our work since 2016. It focuses on the solutions and innovations that in the water field, water management, sustainable water management, agriculture, environment. We have specialized in this aspect regarding the environment. As Iraq today goes through a lot of economic, environmental troubles, the water crisis we are having in Iraq. Unfortunately, to answer your question, unfortunately, the reality, the entrepreneurship is not heavily promoted on the technological side for green businesses, especially in the last years. It was very hard for us. It was very hard to us to reach a project that reach the acceleration point, executing the project and make profits out of it. We have found promising projects, and our predictions for the future is positive. The entrepreneur shall not enter a certain sector without working on if there is no need for this sector. Usually we know that the innovation is only for piloting without really entering the market. You can see the Pepsi is either very heavily tech informative or someone who is illiterate about technological aspect. I can give many examples quickly, so I don't take much of your time. One of the examples that we have worked on is the multi-line drip irrigation system. We know it is standard now, but how to use it in an innovative way, where many lines can be used, as the farmer can plant many kinds of crops for sustainability and reduction of seasonality. So this project have been implemented and now reached the scale up level. It works totally by artificial intelligence. He knows each line through the sensors that have been used in this line. He gives you the sufficient water needed for such plant. This will reduce and will help in providing more water for other projects. One of the projects that we have seen that have started in Iraq, the hydraulic project, especially in the agricultural sector. Two projects or three that we have worked on adopts the AI thing in the hydrographic as this closed circle for collecting or harvesting crops are used through anticipating the production of the said crops. The third project, if I may give an example quickly, the rehabilitation of the lands and repairing the pipes. One project is a government is a state-owned project, and the other one is by an entrepreneur company. In the agricultural land, especially in middle and southern Iraq, that suffers lots of problems where the lands can be rehabilitated, where the farmer he's not he doesn't have to overflow his entire lands. He needs only to put these pipes, and these pipes by its term, all the salt on in stuck in this pipes. Hopefully, in the future, this water shall be recycled, and there will happen an isolation will be happen efficiently. It is a basic thing to connect the AI to such a huge project, as it is only integrated devices that can be beneficial in the future for the farmers' efforts and the final user, the end user. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, Dr. Ahlan. And we see there are projects are taking this transition, the technological transition, and the Iraqi environment. What is the role of the ministry of the government, especially the ministry, to support such initiatives? Just as Mr. Mohammed said, are there researches, projects, take into consideration the climate change seriously? Thank you. Of course, the ministry, as a ministry specialized in research, supports all the researchers and gives awards and gifts to those who are accomplished in certain research. And there are events where we honor or give awards to those people who make breakthroughs, scientific breakthroughs. The financial awards is currently a project in Forbes. It is the support of the government and ministry to the researchers is critical and crucial, because there is no limits for how can we fund such researchers. As the ministry works on supporting them, giving them total or partial support according if it was a mission or a delegation that shall be spent for the researchers, especially on the climate change projects have its share in such funding. As the director of the delegations and missions have seen, and many students have been sent to many countries of the world. Currently, they are working on this project, like in Britain, Hungary, USA, Soviet Union, China, Japan. We have two types of students. First type, where the governments give them full scholarship or full support. Second one is partial support. the ministry focus on these fields in particular and giving priority to the environment engineering. We know these specialties are important, where they can study about and bring research that shall help the country. Thank you, Dr. Haidar. As a specialist, and you have worked on many projects on various fields, as if I may say, in regards to the cases that Iraq faces. What are the latest things that we have reached? And on the point, what are the technologies that can be presented or delivered to the relevant issues of Iraq? Desertification, water shortage, pollution. There are many pollutions on many levels. What can you bring to the table? What are the latest researchers have made? Firstly, to understand this topic, please don't look into it in a partial way. Work with it, especially the title of this conference, that climate change impacts. When you look to into the topic partially, you will not understand anything. The climate change is a huge umbrella caused by intersect circles. As the integrated management of these circles, if you don't do it properly and interrogate it properly, step by step, you will not understand anything. As if you made a defense line for these impacts. Our project till now, we look into this topic partially. We look into desert storms, drought, land degradation, water scarcity, lack of sea levels. We have climate refugees. The demographic of Marshes is changing. It's geopolitical, society on the society level. To put the resolution on this matter, I came to the answer focus. What are the technologies? We have the technologies. We are not required to bring to bring scientists from 1969, where American scientists have brought moon stones to the earth. It is available. Our problem is the implementation of these resolutions to resolve the drought of Tigris, Euphrates. We are not making anything possible. There are resolutions. We are demanding to implement these resolutions and entering them into the Iraqi sphere. We have the technologies. One of the things, like the water recycling, since 1999, prior to 2003, there was an act about the closed circle. Some here knows about it. All private sector, public sector are responsible for the recycling of the water. Till that time, we didn't have a water shortage. Now, one of the concepts of tackling the climate change on the long term is water recycling. I am right now, I have adopted the topic since 2015, the artificial raining. It is a quick solution. It is not that expensive. We go to non-traditional one. All countries that neighbor Iraq use this method. When we use it in Iraq, we face it as like an ancient method. But others are using it without government. The Iraqi mentality is here. When we want to implement these solutions, we bump into a barrier that will not let us implement these solutions. Yesterday, I found conflicts happening over water. This is dangerous thing. If we don't look into the climate change with an interchanging view, with a quick management, the crisis is looming. As Allah said, we have made everything alive from water. If we can't resolve the water issue, we will not resolve the desertification and the desert storms, dusty storms. Our main problem is water. One of the quick ways to resolve it, the water shortage is for the short, mid-term, maybe for the long term. One of the long-term solutions is the implementation of this act, the Closed Circle Act. It is can be help us with much factories that produce lots of waste. We are facing the summer. The summer is on the doors. There are quick solutions. The artificial races provides 1 billion to 4 billion meters, square meters. This is not conventional way, where Turkey doesn't give us water. As Erdogan, 20 to 50 strategies make Turkey just like China in terms of economy and also geopolitical. Now, if we want to get more share from Turkey, it's not available. But how to deal with Turkey right now is the main problem is the water, and it is a matter of national security. If we don't look into the topic with such a view, no, it is really a crisis looming in the horizon. Just to get back to your question that I got out of the topic. Maybe it is a shared basket that we put all the matters at hand. As for the technologies matter, no, yes, at least for the speaker who speaks for us. We are nationalizing the technologies, the modern technologies in the world according to our abilities and the technologies available in Iraq. As well to our students, graduates, master degrees, students, doctorate students. Now the theorization is about, as the doctor is here, please convey this message for the theoretical research. We want implemented resolutions. The cement company, state company of Iraq, has a contract of said millions of dollars. We can't see the result. The colleges are part of the solution to give solution to these problems. Even delegate students, he just goes about just to get the doctor title, not to learn, not to bring real resolution to Iraq and help alleviate the situation. You must do your best and give a positive outcome. Yes, we are nationalizing the technologies with what is available, with what we can. And thank you. Dr. Haidar clarified the lab capabilities for sustainable development that we can work on. And we can rely on in executing and for the packaging of the old ways and the currently in use. In regard to the biological aspect, industrial, etc. How can we encourage these sustainable technologies in a modern institution or any or even old institutions? How can we add to them? As thank you for the points that you have clarified. I am very admire them, which is real, out of reality, especially the water. From our personal experience, we can take an example. We reached to investors of the inhabitant complex. We try to make a business model of how the best use of the water drainage and how to recycle them in a certain way that in the end the water that reached to the green areas or the recycled water that is used in the houses where the lenders, unfortunately, this project have failed. Did not take its fair share of success.
These works which are operated in a good environmental way, green projects. And in fact, it's very important to invest in these programs and works. It usually there are two aspects of this issue. First of all, the pioneer work or business pioneers and the final beneficiaries. We in fact see the beginning or witness the beginning of some projects. The most the focus is on technology and on some agricultural projects. They work and they focus on technical details and some technical and specialized information. But we want a dialogue or a language which is understood by the society, the most individuals of society. We want we want to develop a lot of things in marketing, in sales, and supply chain, and the administration of industry. This is the business aspect, and we have another issue, which is the end beneficiaries. For example, we have the hydroponic. In fact, price is to $20,000. Tell me, which farmer now has this sum of money? Then we have difficulties here. The business pioneers themselves, in fact, have difficulties and faces a lot of challenges. Hence, we see that most of them go to other services sectors, etc. Other sectors. We want to focus on the end user. Credit agencies, most of these credit agencies do not, honestly speaking, focus on investment in this technology. And then we try to employ any traditional ways with the business pioneers. Come make your hydroponic and pay as you will. Or when it is good for you to pay. Then we see that there are a lot of changes. The stakeholders should help in these respects. In fact, all these elements may serve or help support the macroeconomics. Dr. Ahlam, these technologies and developments can be depended or used or employed in different sectors. What or how the government and how can the government help in using these technologies and applying them in solving the problem? Thank you very much. Again, I say the Minister of Higher Education is specialized in the different fields, and the Ministry of Higher Education is not is concerned with the outputs of the education process. The ministry does its best in this respect. In each conference, for example, we have certain subjects and certain researchers or papers which are concerned with environment and climate changes. the ministry, in fact, fulfills its role and perform its role through tens of symposiums, discussions, panels, etc. And now the technological development opens the horizon for the workshops made by given by the ministry, and a lot of participants, in fact, participate in these workshops. I would like to tackle or to talk about my department, women empowerment. Last year, we had an event, a conference about conference, and it was specialized. And we in that conference we tackled the role of women in raising awareness. And in 1 month time, we are going to make or give another conference, and I invite all of you to participate in this conference. Women, in fact, have their role in addressing climate changes. The Ministry of Education supports planting campaigns, awareness campaigns, etc. These are the things which we do, but each work has its limits, and each ministry has its limits. We in the Ministry of Education has our limits, but as Mr. Haider said, our work should be integrated. We have many solutions, we have many recommendations, but unfortunately, no one adopted them. I invite the international organizations, the stakeholders to send persons and organizations to support the researchers. Due to my experiments, we have two women who won prizes, international prizes, and their researchers were concerned with the environment. One of them studied the marshes area and how to give sustainable solutions for this area. These researchers, in fact, were supported by UNESCO and the Oriel organization, and they have honored and they were given certificates, and that's it. Things stopped. However, there are other departments and institutions which incorporate our work. And my invitation for you and for everybody is to support researchers. We have researchers in the colleges of agriculture, of engineering, of natural resources management and administration. We have information technology departments. Please support those people. In Iraq, research in Iraq ends with recommendations, and that's it. We lack that integration between society or community and universities. It is the responsibility of all the sectors and all the society segments. You know that different countries all over the world, there are certain roles played by the university outside the walls of the society available for everybody. Unfortunately, in Iraq, the university is just inside the walls of the society of the university. Thank you very much for you. Now we want the raise a final question, and we want a response, short responses. What do you think, as a man of academia, technology and technology sector in general? How do you see the sector in coming years? concerning focusing or concentration, its concentration on the environment and climate change. If the society and community do not are not aware of the climate change, is not aware of the impacts of the climate change, then it will stand still. I am very frank and I'm very I go to the point. If the society from the decision makers to the ordinary persons and, and people of the street, if they are not aware of this problem, then in fact we cannot go another step. We will have problems in water quality, air quality, and this quality is going to be deteriorated unless we have collective efforts. We have to work within the same or on the same track. All of us are on the same boat. Uh, it is just like necklace. If you remove one loop from that necklace, it will be dropped and be outside of your neck. Then we have to focus on these things: renewable energies, recycling water, and I would like to say something important. In 2013, I was an advisor in the Ministry of Health, and we used to have a problem in the hospitals, and we received tenders from companies. An Italian company sent us a tender. The problem is what to deal with the recycling waters for hospitals, and the system was the price of the system is $300,000. The ministry was the minister was changed, etc., and I decided to fabricate or to produce this system in Iraq. And I, in fact, was able to fabricate or produce the system with a price which is less than $60,000. And I obtained an approval from the environment. I had approval from the Minister of Environment, and that system, in fact, was now is used in the hospitals, Iraqi hospitals. Now the hospitals are recycling water, and it is used. That water is used for agricultural purposes, and the water quality is good. It is up to the standards and the criteria. Nothing is impossible. And in fact, our problem is application. We do not apply these papers or these researchers which are thrown on the shelves. Thank you very much, Dr. Haidar. And Dr. Ahlam, thank you very much. And Dr. Moniz. And I conclude by saying that the ideas are there and they must not be put on the shelves. We can accelerate the transformation steps and to go for a sustainable future and a green future for everybody. I hope that you have found that panel interesting. Thank you very much. يعني الأوج
To give a final this country.
Thank you very much. And special thanks for everybody here, for the experts in our 3 sessions, for their valuable information, for their messages, which are part of our environment reality. Through these messages, in fact, we understood the effects and the efforts which we have to take to do. Thank you very much for the participants. We in Capita emphasize the importance of studying climate change, and we start and build on our faith and information and the decisions built on information. Capita was and is still emphasizing data and research analysis. Then Capita, in fact, was in fact interested in this platform, and the final thing is to show you this platform. Starting with the data of the impact of the climate change on the temperatures. In fact, in comparison with the last century, we find that Iraq is suffering of high temperatures, as it is shown here. It is not related to a certain chapter. In fact, it is a chain of changes over years. Change in the climate changes. Also, the changes in the rain rates throughout the last decades. And we see through these tables the scarcity of water in 2021 in comparison with 2020. Most of the governors, in fact, witnessed scarcity or low rates of rains, which led to a drought in most of Iraq lakes from north to south. Till sometimes it is 80%, in fact, as in we have in Al Adaim Dam, and 50% as in the marshes. And we have this is shown on the diagram on the left. All these places, in fact, suffered of droughts, of dryness. Here we have the bubble, smaller bubble in blue, shows the lakes in 2021 and the red one in the 2020. And through these tables, we can see the differences. This dryness, in fact, leads us to a very dangerous problem. That's to say, desertification. We see that desertification rates were, in fact, more than the last year or the last years, as in the governorates of Anbar, Najaf, and the highest percentage or raise are in these two governors in particular, and all Iraqi governors in general. Unfortunately, this dryness is associated, or drought is associated with pollution in air, which led to classifying Iraq as the worst second country in air pollution. Local news agencies in fact broadcast more than 150 news concerning climate changes in the last 7 months. These, this news, in fact, reflect the negative impacts on Iraqi environment and citizens. Capita will continue on following up agencies and organizations and their reflections on the Iraqi security society. The last important part is your ideas and points of views, which are the most important ideas and points of views which are related to the environment and climate change. We have a sample of more than 100 persons who answered participated in the questionnaire. We have the first question, for example, on the impact of the climate change. The largest rate of the participants believe that the climate change negatively impacts Iraq. And you also, the participants said believed that it is very important to address these changes, and most respondents believe that all subjects are equally important, and we can see the same analysis, but on another level, which is the institutions and their distribution in this conference, which indicates the diversification of the institutions engaged in this conference. As for the next question, in fact, it is about the areas and the specializations of your institutions and how can they participate in addressing changes and their impacts. And most of the answers or respondents says that they can participate in awareness in making adapting policy in legislating new policies or laws. Also, we have a question or an item related to your institution in this respect and your response or reactions to the climate change. Also, this diagram shows your ambitions and the targets which you want to conclude, which are not in the gray color. It is not in the gray color. And this is, in fact, a very high ambition. And we hope, all of us hope to conclude these targets. This platform is very important. However, it lacks sometimes updating and detailed information. This platform is part of a series of platforms which are concerned with different sectors in Iraq, but will be provided by Capita soon. The platforms are built on data. It's a dream which Capita aims to transform into a reality It is a joint step with joint efforts with our partners, which are you. We want to work together to solve the problems of the climate. Finally, we in Kaibita, we emphasize our interest, our continuous work to address the problems of our society through investments based on research and data. Thank you very much.
سيداتي آنساتي سادتي
Yeah.
رياض على عرضه الكتاب.
My colleague for the Spain. Thank you for your presence. Achieve impacts, tackling the challenge of global space and technology. Thank you for the discussion. Thanks for the activity in the sessions. Hope you don't forget to plant the seeds that you have found on your seats in the beginning of the conference. This was the researchers in Pakita. Hopefully to see you on next events. Thank you.